Hi, and welcome to the Breakout Room summary of our meeting for the Eye-Opener Toastmaster Club on February 13th, 2022. Our theme of the meeting was poetry, but before I go into that and break down everything that happened, I want to give a quick announcement about our club renaming process. This Saturday, tomorrow, that's when our club will no longer be accepting new names. So if you haven't made a submission, do it. There will be a link in the doobly-doo in the description there, and you just need to go to bit.ly/name-our-club. If you hadn't made a submission, do so. If you can't get this link to work, just email me. Just even reply to the email that you get in this video, and I'll make sure it gets submitted. Everybody who submits a name idea will be entered to win a draw, and the winner eventually, which is going to be picked on the week of April 26th, will also win a prize. So bring your names, bring your ideas, bring your suggestions. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can come up with as we rebrand this amazing club that we're all a part of. Okay, on to our meeting. Ann Watson started off with a sick burn. It was a Ken Burns related joke, all about poetry. Feel free to watch that joke again and again in the email that accompanied this video. Oh, there's an invisible there. But you can see here, everybody thought it was funny, and we have a bunch of smarty pants who totally got the joke. So go us. Liz Chavez was our Toastmaster of the day and carried the word mellifluous, and did so actually as the verb, as she presented all the member introductions and the role introductions. There was an invocation by Jacob, who was a visitor coming home from college for Thanksgiving. He came and gave us a poem from his new book all about the humble potato. September gave a speech on the topic of regret, which was touching and personal and based on a recent book she had read, but also the life lessons she is and has learned. Speaker 2 was Bev LeBlanc. Feel free to watch her speech in the email. Her speech was called Don't Cry For Me, I'm Okay. It was a speech she has given before about her relationship with her daughter, and it was a very touching speech. And as the Toastmaster Liz pointed out, the two speeches were quite connected on how we can take advantage of the time we have on this earth to make the best of the relationships we have and to live without regret. I was the Toastmaster of the day, of table topics, I should say, and I led some poetry themed questions. We got 4 questions in, but there's a little surprise after this section. Marcus, commenting on the weather in Calgary, noted that it was poetic but not necessarily romantic, more of a tragedy with the sleet and the snow and slipping on his cane. Richard shared a poetic story about somebody who wanted to take his picture and he was uncomfortable by that, but then what was really uncomfortable was when he realized that the person was asking him to use his camera to take a picture. And some poetic embarrassment for Richard, but at least he has a great story to tell. We had a guest. Sydney joined us, and she talked about how country music as a genre uplifts her heart and makes her feel enthusiastic. In our meeting after the meeting, Chuck quipped that country music is actually mostly related to sad emotions, but some of her favorite artists, I believe she mentioned Luke Bryan, fill Sydney's heart with joy and energy, which is wonderful. Another guest, Wendy, talked about the theme of hope and how hope is a thing with feathers. And for her, it gave her the energy and endurance to push her body for a 50K run. I don't know if any amount of hope would help me with that, but kudos to her and that achievement, and we appreciate her sharing her story. And now, on to our segment for the Unasked Table Topics Questions of the Day. And welcome to our Unasked Table Topics session portion of our meeting after the meeting breakout room. Today joining me for our first unasked question is our second speaker of the Eye-Opener Toastmasters Club meeting for today, as well as our immediate past president, Bev LeBlanc.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. I really love doing this.
That's awesome. I'm glad you're here. Your unasked table topics question is all going to be about love and relationships. And I'm going to start by reading a portion of Sonnet 104 by Shakespeare. To me, fair friend, you never can be old. To me, fair friend, you never can be old. For as you were when first your eye I eyed, such seems your beauty still. 3 winters cold have from the forest shook 3 summers' pride. Bev, how has any relationship of yours, a pet, friend, a significant other, or even yourself changed over time? And how has it remained the same? 1 minute.
Every relationship I have had in my life has changed in different ways. My relationship with my children, of course, they grow up, they learn to have their own ideas and thoughts, and they don't always agree with you. But when they were little, we protect them. They grow up. We still try to protect them, but they don't always want that. My relationship with pets, I love cats, I love dogs, but at my age, I don't want them anymore because it's a lifetime commitment. If I were to get a dog now, that's 15 years. I might not be alive in 15 years, but they've always given me a great deal of companionship, responsibility, you name it. They've been a blessing to me for sure. My strongest relationship that I have is, of course, with Chuck, and it has changed over time. Chuck used to be a kind of person who always hurt my feelings. He didn't mean to do that, and over time he's changed, so I've changed too. I've learned not to take everything so seriously. I've learned to take everything with a grain of salt, and if either of us gets too pushy or too aggressive, we just say tone, and then we know we have to soften ourselves a little bit.
Wow, that was lovely. And I'm glad that you helped Chuck be a kinder evaluator. It's good for me and in general. And so that's a great share and a great response. I just want to briefly ask about your speech today, because it was about relationship with your daughter. You've given this speech before, correct? And how does it feel the more you give this speech? And how do you think about your relationship with your daughter as every time you give it?
When I first started delivering the speech, it was in preparation for a contest. I had given it at my home eye openers, I don't know, many years ago. It ended up being a 15-minute speech. The audience was sitting in their chairs and had this look on their faces. And I thought, oh, this is going over like a lead balloon. But you have to finish. You can't just stop. After I finished the speech, several people, including Shirley, said, that's the best speech you've ever given. That's when I learned not to take how the audience is looking as an indication of how they're feeling, because usually they're just thinking about it. But after that, whenever I delivered it, it took me a long time to get over breaking down. I'd always, in the middle, I'd get stuck and I'd have to stop. I heard an international champion say, if you can't deliver a speech without breaking down, you shouldn't be giving it yet. You're not ready. Over the course of time and delivering it over and over and over, I get to the point where I don't break down anymore, but I know other people do. It's just something, and I keep coming back to it because I know when people feel that way, something happens inside them. And I just want people to experience what I did. And my relationship with my daughter right now isn't perfect, but at least we talk once in a while. At least we can communicate, whereas before we didn't. So it's been a good lesson for me, and I hope for her as well.
That's really wonderful and really beautiful and really good advice on being ready and being prepared. I think that emotion, as was part of the theme and the Table Topics theme today, is one that it's a tool that you need to learn how to hone and control. And you did excellently today. Thank you for joining me in this section of the Breakout Room summary video, and I look forward to seeing the next time you speak.
And I always appreciate being able to talk.
Well,
thanks, Kevin.
One more opportunity. All right, bye, Bev.
Bye-bye.
And for our second unasked question, Table Topics of the day, we have our general evaluator from today's meeting, Natalia Garibay. I'm going to read a small portion of the poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that made all the difference. Natalia, what is a life-changing event or decision you've made, and what difference did it make? 1 minute.
Toastmasters is where leaders are made and where life can change, because that is the decision I made almost 5 years ago to be part of this organization. And that was a life-changing decision that I made a time ago. And at that time, I was so nervous to talk that the members of my club decided that they want me to be the sergeant of arms. And with that role, it really helped me to overcome that fear of just being in front of the public, of to say a few words. And when the time finished of that first year, I was feeling more confident to talk, just seeing people having eye contact. And that really changed me. After that, I started participating in contests and other roles. Everything else, it's a story now.
Excellent. Thank you. Being part of Toastmasters, I think, is a life-changing decision that a lot of our audience can resonate with. For whatever reason you decide to join, it's for whomever decides to join. It is something that impacts and changes us all who decide to stay. Thank you very much for that wonderful answer. And based on going to your recent area contest and seeing you speak, I would never have imagined that you ever were too shy to speak, because you've given it everything, and I've just seen you perform and excel and improve drastically, and it's been really amazing. So I guess, do you have any comments on what it was like to go from that first initial phase of anxiety to winning in your area contest for, is it District 113? Area
Yes. And
A?
this Sunday was the division contest.
Right.
The next level is going to be the district contest, and it's going to be my first time participating at district level in English, because last year I participated in Spanish, but in the evaluation contest. And this is going to be another level to have two contests, one in English, one in Spanish, one day after another.
Wow. Well, Toastmasters is indeed where leaders are made, and we were so lucky to have you as general evaluator at our meeting based on the theme of poetry. Lucky to have you in our club, and good luck on your district upcoming contest. Thank you for joining me today in the summary breakout room video.
Thank you.
And joining me for our third and final unasked table topics question on the theme of poetry is our member, Allison Calderon from Panama. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to have you. For our third and unasked table topics question, I am going to start with a poem excerpt from T.S. Eliot, The Naming of Cats. When you notice a cat in profound meditation, the reason, I tell you, is always the same. His mind is engaged in a rapt contemplation of the thought of the thought of the thought of his name. His ineffable, effable, ineffable, deep and inscrutable, singular name. Allison, in 1 minute, answer the following question. If you have a pet in your home, how would you speak about the way they move about life, their personality? Based on this, if they had a name to describe themselves, a secret name, what would that name be?
Thank you for your question, Kevin. His name is Agosto, which in English means August. We found him in the street in the 31 August. So we rescued him, and since then he's being a bit energetic and naughty. He's been ruining most of my clothes, bags, and shoes, which is something I have to be very careful. But with all of his disadvantages aside, I have enjoyed a lot his companion in my life. He's part of happiness in my life, and his tiny and beautiful face reminds me of how beautiful can life be. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Great. And when we first visited earlier, you told me you actually had a poem about Augusto. If you're feeling brave, would you like to share it with us?
Absolutely.
Okay, go for it. I'd love to hear it. Go ahead.
All right. Beautiful green eyes, black and white hairs, and the most energetic personality. His tiny face has the power to make me happy and to make me feel so lucky to have this amazing presence of love in my life. I hope you guys like it.
Ah, that's what you do when you applause for poetry. You snap. That's great. Well, that was an excellent poem. Thank you for joining us in the breakout room for a Table Topics answer, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. May it be poetic.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
And thank you to Bev, Natalia, and Allison for joining me with those. Let's conclude with the rest of our meeting, shall we? Natalia Garibay led our evaluation segment as our general evaluator. Ron gave feedback, positive and constructive, for September's speech. And Norma, as our second speech evaluator, did the same for Bev's speech, commenting on how, as she polished the speech by saying it many times, she gave some suggestions for being able to shrink it down, but also gave a positive and an area of growth for each one of our speakers. Followed by Natalia to be able to get every single thing, but given a lot of the flowery language that was present during this meeting, she had lots to say regardless. Bryony was on top of her game as timer and gave an excellent report, both in and dropped those numbers in chat all along. And our awe counter counted the ums, ahs, and even a tongue click from me throughout this meeting, and we much appreciated her feedback. That was our meeting, a poetic meeting, one for the books. It was a really fantastically well-run meeting, very memorable, wonderful backgrounds, wonderful topic, lots of artistic language, great word of the day. This was really a fantastic meeting. And to end this breakout room video, I'm going to end with the way I started the meeting on Table Topics session by Marion Moore's poetry. If you demand on the one hand, in defiance of their opinion, the raw material of poetry in all its rawness, and that which on the other hand is genuine, then you are interested in poetry. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next Wednesday. Don't forget, submit a name. Boop, 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 boop. Link in the video, link in the email, link everywhere. All right, bye for now.